When I installed paint protection film on our Model Y here behind me, I discovered I didn't have very good lighting in my garage. I have added some LED cob lights, which are much brighter than the regular incandescent light bulbs that were here originally. Sometimes in the past, I've just done the work outside in the driveway on a sunny day to have better light. But that's not always a viable solution if it's super hot outside or the nature of the work is multiple days long and I don't want it out in the weather. For this project, I did it in the winter, so I definitely didn't want to be outside. Plus, applying PPF is very prone to wind-blowing contaminants that get under the film, so I certainly didn't want to do it outside. The one shop light I already had and thus used for this project was this 500-watt halogen light, which puts out some serious heat, as opposed to a heat lamp for chicks like this one, which is specifically meant to put out heat. Because of this, it's a bit of a fire hazard and wastes a lot of electricity. In any case, it did help me get the job done, but because I only had the one bright light, I had to move it around a lot to get better lighting where I was working. I made a couple of videos about installing PPF on my Model Y, and in my project learnings, I mentioned improved lighting would have been very helpful. And shortly after that, JC-LGL reached out to me offering some of their lights to test out and evaluate. So they're sponsoring today's video. I looked through their catalog of lights, of which there's many for various purposes, and I found a couple temporary work lights that will work well for my purposes. And when they asked how many lumens I wanted, I said, yes, all the lumens. They sent two different lights. One is actually a string of 10 lights on a 100-foot cord with a cumulative 16,000 lumens, and the other one is a 360-degree LED lantern with 30,000 lumens. Let's unbox these and check them out. So these are the two boxes here. I'm going to open up this one first. So you can see they're calling this the LED string work light. And so like I said, there's 10 lights and they have this opaque dome on them to help soften the light. And then on the back of each of them, they have these little carabiners here to help hook them up or hang them on something. And then on the end of that string, this is a 100-foot cord. You can see it has the two-prong plug here. And they have another version of this that is a 3-prong cord so that you can plug in grounded devices to the end of this string of lights. But this is the 2-prong version. And then over here is the 360-degree lantern. I'm going to pull out this foam. You can see it has a handle here on the top. And this handle has a catch right here. So you can actually, if you had a pole or something to hang this from, you could just readily pop that on there. But as I pull this out, it has, you'll see here, a 6-foot cord. And this is a 3-prong light, so this is grounded. And this is 30,000 lumens. It has a metal cage around it. And you can see here on the side that it has a 3-prong plug here as well. So you could have another device running off of this outlet on the side of the lantern. And the lantern has not only all of these lights around the side of it, but it also has lights on the bottom. So if you hang it up high, it will illuminate directly beneath it as well as all around it. Something else that this lantern light comes with is this right here, which is a cable that has 2 carabiners on either end in through loops in the cable, so that you can use this to just help you conveniently hang it up in varied locations. And then also, let's check the wattage of these lights. So with my handy dandy electricity meter here, I'm going to plug this in. All 30,000 lumens, that just changed. 233 watts for 30,000 lumens. And if you want to just see the amps at 120 volts, that's 1.94 amps. Yes, that is really bright. You probably can't see it on the camera because the camera compensates for it, but it's illuminating this area quite nicely. Now for this string of lights here, let's plug this in. And the watts is 132 for 16,000 lumens. That's not too bad. And looking at the amps on this one, that is 1.54 amps. As a point of reference, this is the halogen light that I've been using for a while. And if I plug that in, it's putting out an enormous amount of heat, which obviously you can't feel. And then if we look at the watts on that, it's pulling 475 watts. And I don't know how many lumens this outputs exactly. It's pretty bright, but it's not as bright, and it's a much yellower light. These other ones are bluer. This is the details on the back of that halogen light, and it just says a couple of specs there. It doesn't say anything about lumens. I do find it interesting, though, that up here on the warnings, it does say risk of excessive UV radiation. So I'm going to get these set up and show you what they look like. For this 360-degree lantern, I thought a good place to set this up would be right in the middle of the garage. So I'm going to hang it from the garage door opener because that's pretty central. and let's see how it turns out. Because I can't reach this plug from the floor, I have this Tectin Smart plug here that I can just go ahead and plug the outlet instead. And then wirelessly, I can turn on the light, or there's a physical button here as well. And this is what it looks like on my phone. You can see I have 4 of them, and I can cycle the power on the garage light with this app on my phone. I could go into it if I wanted to see a bigger button for some reason, but it works great. And so this is how well it illuminates our garage, just hanging out there in the middle, right beneath the garage door opener. And I could, of course, shorten the cable and have it be up taller. I just thought I'd put it there for now and see how it works out. But wow, it's definitely illuminating this garage. Now, of course, one of the limitations of having the lighting here is that if there is a car here, for instance, then there's going to be a shadow cast from the roof of the car line down the sides of the car. So that's where the string lights come into play, because they'll be uniform lighting all the way around. So I'm going to get those set up now. Okay, girls, come over here. And I want you to each hold on to one of these lights. And I need to try to get these separate from each other without making a huge tangled mess. Starting to get tangled. Well, I guess this is the risk of these types of lights. This string light is prone to tangling just because the lights themselves catch on each other and the line. All right, Clara, step over this one. All right, Clara, go, or stay there, I guess. Oop, here, Lucy, come over here. Let go of that one. Thank you. Lucy, hold on to this. I have finished stringing the lights, and this is with most of the lights off. Right now it's just the garage door opener light on. And now this is with the string lights on. And so it's not quite as bright, which is per the numbers, as that lantern, but it's actually more of a uniform light, and I quite like it. It's a softer light, it's not as harshly bright, it's more diffused, and then it's just everywhere. There's almost no shadows anywhere in the room. And now I can also pull out my phone and I can turn on the overhead light, and that's the difference. So it's significantly brighter, and with all of them combined, it's quite bright in here. Now I've brought the car back in so you can see what it looks like with all the lights and a car in here if you were going to be working on a car in your garage. It's definitely dimmer. There's some light fall off over here because the brightest light source, that lantern, is shadowed from there. But it does have some fill light from the string light that I have right there, and there's another one up over this way. And then over here on this side, just it happens to be that the lantern light is just above this side of the car, so it's still brighter on this side, but you can see the shadow being cast there from that bright light source. And then some of these, the placements of some of these aren't great because it's temporary in nature. I didn't try to do a really good job with even distribution or have them aiming. So there's one up there on the boat, for instance, the canoe that's kind of blocked from the car. And then there's a few more over here. But what these definitely do is a great job of just evenly putting light everywhere in the garage. I'm now looking at the lantern light with my FLIR thermal imaging camera. And you can see here that it's about 105, 106 degrees. It's about 135 degrees here on that brightest part. So it does definitely put out some heat, but nothing compared to that halogen light. This is, of course, one of the lights that's on the string, and you can see it's about 80, 81 degrees. Up here on top, that looks like it's maybe the hottest, and that's 87 is the peak that I've seen. So a bit cooler than the other one, which makes sense because this is fewer lumens and fewer watts, and this is also just 1 of 10, so the heat is distributed across the whole string. Conversely, here is the halogen light. You can see there in the depths it's 302 degrees, and that's pretty consistent actually across this whole front region. And then if we come up here to the back and look at that, it's still almost 300 degrees even on the back. Looks like 275 thereabouts, kind of falls off. But yeah, this light puts out some serious heat, and it's not as bright as the other lights. Now that I've had a chance to test out these lights and set them up in my garage, let's go over the stats really quick about the lights. So let's start with the string lights first. As I mentioned before, they have a 2-pronged version and a 3-pronged version, meaning the plug at the end of the string is grounded or not. And so I have the non-grounded version, and then also they have 2 other kinds. One that is a 5-light version and a 10-light version. So mine's 100 feet long, the other one would be 50 feet long. And so the gauge of the wire is different depending on which model you get. But let's talk about the lumens first. So they have 130 lumens per watt, which means the 5 light string is 8,000 lumens and the 10 light string is 16,000 lumens. And the color temperature on all of them is 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which is daylight. And then these lights can accept from the voltage range from 100 to 277 volts. And then they are IP65 water rated, which means they can get shot by a jet of water or obviously be out in the rain without any water ingress. So these could be hung up outdoors. If you had an outdoor patio and you wanted light to be evenly distributed around, you could use them for that. And we might actually use them as well when we're camping. We can plug it into our RV and we can have light distributed evenly all around our campsite. The beam angle on each of the lights is 270 degrees. And the wire is, depending on the model you get, is either 18 gauge, 16 or 12 gauge. So 18 gauge would be the 2-prong 5 light version, and then the 12 gauge version would be the 100-foot 3-pronged plug. So just to give you an idea on that. So you'd obviously want to have the thicker gauge wire if you intend to use that plug on the end of it for appliances, that you'd be plugging in and using a lot of amperage. So depending on the length of the string and the gauge of the wire, you can string up to 40 lights together. So for instance, that would be 8 5-light strings, or you can do 4 10-light strings. And they can be linked together end to end to end and all the way through. And then it's designed for 50,000 hour lifetime and a 5-year warranty. So now let's talk about this 360 degree temporary work light that's more of a lantern style. So it is 30,000 lumens, so it's clearly much brighter than the string light, almost double. It's also more harsh on the eyes though, because the LEDs are shining directly off of it. There's no diffusion of the LEDs. And it pulls about 250 watts as I showed before, and that's equivalent to a 1,000 watt incandescent or traditional light. And then it's a 360 degree beam angle all the way around, and it's actually more than that because it's 360 degrees all the way around, but it also is shining light directly down. So I don't know how you measure that, but it's more. And then this light as well for voltage can handle 100 to 277 volts as well. And then the cord length is 10 feet long. And so this is 120 lumens per watt. And it's also suitable for outdoor use because it's IP65 rated. The CRI, or color accuracy, is 80 plus, and the lifespan is expected to be 50,000 hours. And then this outside cage that goes around it, that is made out of stainless steel, and 4 of these lights can be daisy chained together using the outlet that's there on the side of it, you can see right there. In conclusion, these lights are awesome and they put out a lot of light. I like the versatility of being able to reposition both of them as needed, and that both of them can have an outlet on them to power additional lights or potentially other devices that don't exceed the wire gauge and available watts that the wire can handle, of course. The string lights are fantastic for lots of bright light coming from many different directions, which is my preferred method of lighting a room in general. For instance, here in my garage, they wrap around the car and provide light in all directions with 0 repositioning of the main light. The lantern light is great for a simpler setup, just hanging it in the middle of the room and casting light in all directions, with the main limitation being that since it's a single light source, it doesn't illuminate the opposite side of objects in the room, such as the other side of the Model Y, which is the same as any regular overhead lights, but this one is just way brighter. For both of these lights, they save a lot of electricity compared to most other lighting options on the market. And an additional side benefit of that is that they don't add any additional heat to the room, or at least very little. I'll continue to use these lights, and if I have any additional insights about their use or longevity, I'll mention that in future DIY video projects that I take on, which I will also link in the video description below if I end up mentioning anything about these lights. I'll also include links in the video description below of both of these lights. With that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.